All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to pretend the last 30 minutes didn't happen. What a scarlet letter I got to wear. My bad on the Verlander stuff. All right. Let's get into this. On the Wednesdays with Guy We Work With segment on the Jamie and Stoney program, Wojo once again proved he is arguably the most intellectually dishonest man on this station. And a complete shill for the University of Michigan. So in the segment, Wednesdays with Guy We Work With, I want to play this to you as Wojo uttered what I think is one of the most ridiculous things I have ever heard.
The committee would still have a major dilemma with a 10-2 Michigan if they lose a close game to Ohio State. If it came down to a 10-2 Michigan or a 12-1 Washington, or that it could really be tight.
Okay, first of all, he should be fired for those remarks. Second of all, what Wojo is propagating is that a team that, under this circumstance, would have lost 2 of its last 3 games, did not play in its conference title game, and would somehow still be one of the top 4 teams in America. What the hell is Wojo smoking? There's no way he actually believes that. So, in essence, if he utters it and doesn't believe it, he has just turned into Skip Bayless with worse hygiene. I want to throw this number out. Because in my world, a 2-loss team that doesn't make its conference title game simply is persona non grata. You don't make the playoff. If Michigan beats OSU, they get in. If they don't, they are out. For Wojo to sell a team losing 2 of its last 3 regular season games as being a top 4 team, well, you know what? At that point, throw the system out because all you did was do it for TV ratings. That's asinine. Now, if you can find a way for Michigan to get in at 10-2, go ahead. I'll listen to it.
I can. But it's not going to happen.
But it is one of those things that only Wojo would say. Only Wojo would do it. I'm convinced he has an office at Schembechler Hall.
I didn't hear any plans.
All right, you're done. Thank you. 248-539-9797. You know, I could take Rieger off the hook. Hell, Rieger for his nonsense with Barry. Saying 10-2 Michigan gets in over 12-1 Washington. Yeah, a team that won the Pac-12, went to the Pac-12 title game and won. Are you kidding me? There is no possibility of a 10-2 football team making the playoff unless somehow it was Alabama. It's asinine. They lost as a 25-point favorite to a 4-loss Iowa team, and then they would go out 2 weeks later and lose again? Are you kidding me with that, Wojo? That's ridiculous.
It's a bad take. It's an awful take. The only way Michigan could get in as a 2-loss team is if Ohio State lost this weekend, Clemson lost, Louisville lost, Washington lost. I mean, that's not going to happen. But for that specifically...
Oh, hold on. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why the hell would 10-2 Michigan get in over 11-2, say, Wisconsin?
Wisconsin would have to lose again. They would have to not win the Big Ten.
Oh, just add that to the list, too.
No, I'm just saying it's absurd. The only way they get in with 2 losses is if everybody loses again and for the remainder of the season. It's not going to happen.
But Wojo didn't say that. Wojo propagated that they would get in possibly over 12-1 Washington. See, if that happens, I actually would be thrilled, and here's why. It would prove once and for all this thing is totally ridiculous. There's zero transparency, and they're doing this for nothing more than telegraph television matchups. That's it. I mean, it's asinine. Look at what they did last night in the college football poll rankings. They moved Ohio State up 3 full spots, as if Ohio State winning was the only thing that happened this week. You know why they have Ohio State at 2? It's because at 2, it's a guarantee that OSU, even if they somehow get shut out of that Big Ten title game, let's say Penn State wins out, that they could still put OSU in. It's crazy to me.
Well, Kirk Herbstreit essentially said it because it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen if they win out their next 2 games, Michigan State and Michigan. He said it before even the rankings. Well, we're being told by the committee that you do not have to win your conference championship to go to the playoff.
As long as you're Ohio State.
Right, of course.
Or
and
as long as you're Bama.
If you're Michigan, I'm sure, too, if you would have lost to Ohio State and not to Iowa.
Can you imagine a Wisconsin at 11-1 that doesn't play for the Big Ten championship? Can you imagine the same situation for them? Same resume as Ohio State?
Right.
You know what would happen? They'd be down at 5 or 6.
They'd be 5. Right.
This is such a joke, and I get it. It is a business, but this is the grand difference between the college football playoff ranking and the college NCAA tournament ranking and selection committee. The selection committee in basketball generally gets it right. You know, whether you're a 1 seed or a 2 seed, they pretty much give you the best 8 teams. Is that fair? Yeah. And overall, we quibble about seedings, but it's settled on the court.
Yeah, and number 1 and 2 seeds are taken care of. You're playing close to home regardless, but go on.
Thank you for interrupting, Mike. We'll get to that later. Listen, second of all, it's a breaking news sounder. Just hit the breaking news button. Hit the breaking news button. Who cares what I'm doing? Look, the people don't care.
Major breaking news, guys. It's a miracle. DeAndre Levy is practicing right now.
Whoa.
See? Why the hell did you talk in my ear when you could do that?
Because I didn't want to interrupt you mid-segment if you're trying to set something up.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Here's what I've set up. Nothing. So the point I'm making is the Wojo commented, because they asked about, what do you think Mike's opinion is? Here's my opinion. It's a joke. All they try to do is create controversy. All they try to do is dictate television matchups. Having 2 versus 3 is a lot sexier than 2 versus 5. And let's be honest, Michigan belongs at 5. They never belonged at 2. They never belonged ahead of Clemson. Well, now Clemson and you lost. Well, guess what? You're both going to fall down the stairs in that order. Clemson should still be ahead of you by 1. You lost as 25-point favorites to a 4-loss, can't score in a morgue Iowa team.
Dude, I got to tell you, I would put Michigan in front of Clemson just because Michigan lost on the road and Clemson lost at home to the Nard Dog, and I'm sure they were a 20-point underdog as well.
Yeah, something like that.
Favorite, or whatever the case was. The bottom line is you are right about one thing. Louisville should have been moved up. Michigan should be at 4. Clemson should be at 5. And that's how this should look. But it doesn't matter because obviously it'll play itself out, and if Michigan loses to the Buckeyes, they're out.
No, but they needed to guarantee themselves that they could justify OSU without the conference title game.
Without a doubt.
They needed to somehow justify that the Michigan-OSU game's every bit as big as 2 undefeated teams. Make it 2 versus 3. But the idea that Wojo comes on the air today and goes, 10-2 Michigan, I'm hearing it could be close.
That's absurd.
That's asinine. Well, if you want to sell me that Michigan goes to the Big Ten title game, loses in heartbreaking, excruciating fashion, and somehow 11-2 Michigan gets a bump as the last team in with 4 or 5 other things happening, I'm not telling you I would agree with it or I would do it, but I'd have the conversation.
Right.
There is nothing to talk about if they lose to Ohio State. That is ridiculous, and I challenge any Michigan fan to argue the contrary.
No, I think Michigan fans
only
are smarter.
Wojo would get away with doing that.
So what do you
and he would
think?
only do it for U of M.
So what do you think the agenda is? Why would he say something like that?
Because I am all but convinced they have a retirement package for him at U of M. It's embarrassing.
Oh, it's absurd, obviously. I will say this, though, Mike. You know, Michigan doesn't drop. Clemson drops to 4. If you had teams that actually won, it would have looked a hell of a lot different. Washington would be up there. Clemson would be up there. But everybody lost. There's no good teams in college football with the exception of Alabama.
I think Louisville got screwed. And Louisville's the one that'll be easiest to screw Louisville because they're not the brand name. And second of all, they don't have the best resume. What you're doing with Louisville is almost a faith play, an eyeball test play, where you're looking at them and going, okay, they have the unicorn. They have a guy that maybe you haven't seen collegiately since Cam Newton that could single-handedly, and that's pretty much what Cam did. If you remember, they only ran about 4 offensive plays at Auburn. Lamar Jackson could conceivably go on a field any given Saturday and single-handedly beat any team in America.
Yeah, give you a chance.
So my point with Louisville is it's a little bit of a faith play based on the player, and that if their schedule was tougher, they would still have measured up in those games. Now, you're right. They lost at Clemson early in the year. What was it, 42-36?
39, I believe.
All right, whatever it was. They had the ball, and their idiot wide receiver ran out of bounds for no reason. The bottom line is I think Louisville got screwed. I think it's typical of the committee to screw a team like Louisville. I think if Louisville was named Ohio State with the same resume, Louisville would be in the playoff. It's the small stuff where you see right through it and you go, guys, I know what you're doing. You don't need to try this hard. America will watch the Final Four. You don't need to cater to certain schools like this. But they're doing it for OSU. And I guarantee you, no other school in America would have gone from 5 to 2 this week like OSU.
Yeah, but with Ohio State's schedule and who they played, and they go and play Oklahoma, and they take on Penn State, and they take on Wisconsin on the road on Saturday night, all of that, right? And then everybody else losing, who deserves to be there? Louisville? 2?
Louisville did.
Louisville 2, then you go Ohio State 3, then you go Michigan 4, Clemson 5, Washington 6.
Clemson 4, you 5. You never belonged ahead of them.
How so?
Because I said so.
Oh, I see.
No, I'm just saying. It's my opinion. I also believe Penn State and Colorado are the 2 worst top 10 teams in history. I don't really care. You can trumpet those wins all you like. Those teams aren't that good.
No, I'm not going to trumpet those wins because
I'm talking to a Michigan fan in general who invariably gets all butthurt and they go, oh, is Colorado top 10 yet in your mind? No. And stop seeking my validation like I matter. I gave you my opinion. You have yours.
I'm just curious. Who would you put there?
Listen, I could line up Colorado against about 15 other teams and they'd lose.
Who's the bigger fraud, Colorado or Penn State?
Colorado. I really think the Pac-12 is bad.
You know, I got a bunch of tweets yesterday, Mike. I know you love the Twitter. After the rankings came out, at least 5 or 6, and they're like, right. Do you and Valenti still believe Michigan has not beat anybody?
Right, like they're not going to be able to sleep with their girlfriend until they get that validation. They're not going to get
their wives. Who knows? Maybe they're married.
They're not going to get that validation from me.
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin's tough.
They're 2 fraudulent top 10 teams. And by the way, here, I don't care. The butthurt will be strong. This is one of the worst seasons of college football in history. Look at it. Look how bad it is. Oklahoma's in the top 10? What, are you kidding me? Nice football team. They're okay, but top 10?
How about this? USC is now 13.
3-loss USC, 13th in America. Okay. But here's the key. The polls are one thing. The playoff, you are ranking on merit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. If USC goes on a football field, oh, wait, they did. They beat Colorado.
Yeah.
So my point to you would be this. If USC lined up and played Penn State today, USC wins that football game. If USC lines up today and plays Colorado, they beat that team. They already did. If USC goes on a football field, takes on Oklahoma, they beat that team. USC right now could beat pretty much everybody except 3-4 teams.
But they have 3 losses.
I'm making a point to you.
No, listen, I 100% agree. We can squabble about where exactly they are and whether you believe, hey, you know what, these guys are as high as they are because other teams lost,
right?
Or it's just a bad team or bad year in college football. The bottom line is, okay, maybe Louisville deserves to be in the top 4. But
that's one of my major problems.
Itself out.
We'll do it at 3:30. Let's get into an NFL Blitz next.